Another creepy story about the Mariana Trench Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, you will not understand this. It's the video right before this one. The guy named Troy said that they were on a deep sea dive and they used an unmanned submersible, and what is a typical completely black area, they located 2 towers with bioluminescent light in between them where there should be none. He said it took him almost 3 years to go back to the Mariana Trench for another deep sea exploration with his team. And that's because they didn't want them to go back. It took a lot of fake proposals and phone calls to billionaires to try and convince them that their money would be well spent. He said he had to convince a set of them that their money would be well spent on deep sea architecture. And these weren't your regular run-of-the-mill billionaires. These were the eccentric type. He finally finds one that says, okay, I will help fund this. I will help fund it with my own money. If what you're saying is true, he finally convinces him. He said that this time, the billionaire ended up hiring someone named, we'll call her Dr. Valdez. She was a deep sea marine biologist who never seemed to ask too many questions. So he put her up on it, obviously, about what they were really doing, under the guise of mapping, once again. The billionaire's only request is that instead of using an unmanned submersible, this time they go down into a manned one. So he says this time that him and Dr. Valdez, I guess she was going to validate everything for the billionaire. So they get in a manned submersible. They get down to 33,800 feet, which is supposed to be like impossible or some shit. But he said it's totally not impossible if you have the right equipment with the right amount of money behind it. So he says that he and she get down there and immediately the sonar starts pinging in perfectly straight lines. And that's when they turned on the high intensity beam, and there it was. He said it was so intense because it was so black before the towers came into view. It was almost like the dark was so heavy it wanted to keep them out. But he said once you descend even further, it's almost like being at surface level. Kind of like these towers are making it possible for that. And again, like he said before, he believes that they had seen this previously when NASA was doing research on all of the ocean and stuff, and he thinks that they never actually quit, that they're wanting you to look up instead of looking down. Okay, so there's a ton of black ops projects going on, and he said that he thinks this is where they got the idea for the movie The Abyss. Anyway, so they finally see the 2 towers, and in between it looks like there's a doorway kind of pulsating. And that's when Dr. Valdez says this is not geological in nature at all. This is either man-made or has always been here since the dawn of time. He said it was like a curtain of liquid light, like pulsating and moving, but without disturbing the water around it. Kind of like it was a double ocean. But yeah, he said he is not even kidding. Him and this Dr. Valdez said that's when human face shapes started to appear, kind of like in the water, like in the movie The Abyss, and that it felt like their submersible was being pulled inward, and she starts screaming, we need to ascend, because she gets scared. He said, and that is when their equipment goes haywire, and a human voice comes across and says, you've been here before. And that alone would freak me out. He said that they ended up discussing it, and they don't know whether it was telepathic to where they both heard it or whether it actually came through the equipment. He believes it was telepathic to both of them. He said every single bit of the footage that they had was gone when they ascended from this trip. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And no thumb drives ended up coming in the mail years later or anything else. And that he has no direct evidence. So he said, it's up to you to believe me or not. He said, but I really believe that when James Cameron was doing all of his research on the Mariana Trench and he created, The Abyss or whatever, that he already had the evidence on all of this. And I just want to point out that I don't know whether I believe the story or not. I'm not saying that I do. It's for entertainment, educational purposes only. But they say they have to tell us in the movies, right?